What I do know is that on a couple different occasions, and I'm sure I can reconstruct more to find out more, but on a couple different occasions, this man came in and was very clearly pursuing sort of political connections in the city of Cleveland Heights. One conversation that we had publicly in a public meeting, the council president wanted to sit down and work with the city administrator, Council President Tony Kuda. And so tried to set up a meeting, and he had been briefed. Dan Horrigan had been briefed about the political, the environment that we were in at the beginning of 2025 and the end of 2024. He had seen some of the shenanigans that people were doing and with budget and that kind of thing. So he was not unaware that there was sort of a more oppositional relationship between a majority of the council and the administration and me as mayor. And within that context, he thought that it was a wise idea to set up that meeting and have that, and then realize later, oh wait, I should probably let my boss, the mayor, know that I'm meeting with the president of a city council that has shown itself to be antagonistic. So he told me about the meeting basically, I believe, when it was about to start. And so I walked up to the meeting room and I said, hey, I'd like to sit in on this meeting. And the council president said, no, Mayor, you are, no, if you insist on sitting in on this meeting between me and your employee, then we're not having the meeting. In that moment, though, after that exchange was over, I had a conversation with Horrigan, and I said, look, Tony Kuda knows that if he is going to be reaching out, I've asked him to have the courtesy to talk to me and have a conversation with me as the elected in the executive branch. Elected to elected. This has been my experience when I worked for county. The county executive wasn't pulling county council staff aside and trying to have separate conversations that didn't involve county council members.
What was the meeting about?
Good question. I never found out.
So you never even knew what they were going to even meet about.
But I'll tell you this, that wasn't the only thing about that was concerning. What Tony Kuda said later about that meeting was an interesting view into how Mr. Horrigan operated in Cleveland Heights. After that, when Tony Kuda walked out, and I was having a conversation with Horrigan about that meeting, and I said, look, let me know about these things, because there are some complicated political things that I don't want to get in the way of the work that we're trying to do. And I've seen too many examples of bringing a council member into something, and instead of supporting a thing, they seek to find ways to undermine it. And that's part of the conversation we had back in 2023 about people getting in the way of good things happening. And so that was the conversation, and he apologized to me for not more considerate of that, for thinking that he can just dive in and understand all of the nature of these things. That you
don't think he was maybe trying to fix the relationship?
I don't think so. No, that's not the impression I got. But, and this is why, he apologized to me for not looping me in and keeping me in the loop, which is something that he had committed to doing before he took the job. But what I found out later is that he had a different conversation about that with Tony Kuda. Tony Kuda reported that Dan Horrigan then reached out to him about that and apologized to Tony Kuda for me, saying that, I'm sorry, the mayor was...
I think that, wasn't that public? I think that came out for some reason.
Well,
I'm thinking
Tony Kuda talked about that.
He talked about that, right?
In a public meeting. And so my response was, okay, after that meeting, he also apologized to me for scheduling the meeting and not keeping me in the loop. Like, you are a new employee. You are my second in command here in the city of Cleveland Heights. You have an operations role. You have a non-political role.
So it's safe to say you ain't think he was loyal?
You know what?
Is loyalty an issue with that?
We'll get there, because there are a couple different things that I think are important to consider when it comes to loyalty. Now, when a mayor is elected, that mayor is elected by the people. They are granted authorities by the people. Under our system, the expectation is that the vision and the goals and the path that the mayor has set out in that campaign, those are the vision and the goals and the path that the people have selected to see that mayor implement.
That's correct.
So it's a loyalty to a vision. It's a loyalty to the authority that the people have granted. It's not wise, it's counterproductive, and it is, I would say, concerning when it comes to integrity for someone to seek to undermine that in any way if you're working for a mayor.
So I want to stay on that because we're going to transition more into that because I want to talk more about your staff. But what I don't want to leave hanging on the edge is I want to go back a little bit to the First Lady because we're talking about loyalty.